Hello, friends. David, a King's Story, begins. Tucked away in the Old Testament, the book of 2 Samuel reads like a grand epic. It's a story of battles and victories, loyalty and betrayal. At the heart of this drama is King David. He's a shepherd, a warrior, a king. But David, like all of us, is flawed. His story reminds us that even the greatest heroes stumble. 2 Samuel picks up where 1 Samuel leaves off. The Israelites are ready for a king. The prophet Samuel anoints David to one day rule. This is no ordinary choice. David doesn't come from royalty. He's the youngest of his brothers, overlooked and underestimated. Yet, God sees in David a heart of courage and faith. He battles the giant Goliath. He wins victory after victory, becoming a national hero. Through it all, David shows remarkable faith in God. He faces giants and armies with courage, trusting that God is with him. His story reminds us that God sees beyond appearances. He chooses the humble and empowers them for greatness. David's rise to power is a study in contrasts. He's a skilled musician, soothing King Saul with his harp. He's also a fearless warrior, defeating Goliath with a single stone. This duality makes David a compelling figure. He embodies both strength and sensitivity. After Saul's death, David becomes king. He unites the tribes of Israel and leads them to unprecedented peace and prosperity. He conquers Jerusalem, making it his capital. David's reign marks a golden age for Israel. He establishes a dynasty that will last for generations. David's success isn't just about military might. He's a man after God's own heart. He seeks God's guidance in everything he does. He composes psalms of praise and repentance that still resonate today. David's life teaches us that true leadership involves both strength and humility. It's about seeking God's will and leading with justice and compassion. At the height of his power, David makes a devastating mistake. He commits adultery with Bathsheba, the wife of one of his loyal soldiers. Then, in a desperate attempt to cover up his sin, he arranges for her husband to be killed in battle. This is a turning point in David's story. The consequences of his sin will ripple through his family and his kingdom. David's fall is a stark reminder that even the most righteous can stumble. The Bible doesn't shy away from depicting the flaws of its heroes. David's sin shows us that we are all capable of great evil, no matter how close we are to God. It's a sobering lesson in the deceptiveness of sin. David's story challenges us to examine our own hearts. Are we willing to face our own sinfulness? Are we seeking God's forgiveness and striving to live according to His will? David's fall highlights the importance of accountability and the need for God's grace in our lives. David's sin doesn't go unpunished. The prophet Nathan confronts him, revealing the gravity of his actions. David is filled with remorse, and his repentance is raw and honest. He acknowledges his sin and accepts the consequences. His psalms of repentance offer a glimpse into his brokenness and his longing for God's forgiveness. Despite his repentance, David faces the consequences of his sin. His family is torn apart by strife and tragedy. His kingdom is plagued by rebellion. David's later years are marked by sorrow and turmoil. His story reminds us that sin has lasting consequences, even when we are forgiven. Yet even in the midst of his suffering, David's faith in God doesn't waver. He continues to seek God's guidance and to trust in His love, and mercy. David's story is ultimately one of redemption. It shows us that even when we fall short, God's love and forgiveness are always available to us. David's story offers timeless lessons for us today. We learn about humility, courage, and faith. We see the dangers of sin and the power of repentance. David's life shows that God chooses the humble for greatness. Like David, we are called to seek God's will in all we do. Thank you for watching, and God bless my friends.